Chapter 1. Part 1. My feet were bloody killing me. 6 o'clock in the morning, and my mouth was as dry as Gandhi's flip-flop. I just about managed to drag myself out of bed and was just slumping along the pavement, hovering my hands over my head to shelter from the rain. Just my luck to turn up soaked for the first day. My mate Ben had managed to get me the job on recommendation. He always managed to get me these last-minute gigs. I was trying to get out of the labouring trade, but there just seemed to be nothing else about at the moment. Nothing that I fancied anyway. I wanted something a bit better for myself, but somehow always ended up exactly where I started, wondering how I got there. I could feel the wet of my t-shirt clinging to me, all white and heavy. It felt nice and fucking irritating all at the same time, like a soggy hug from your best mate. I thought about going to college and studying to be a chef or something. Catering, I think the course was called, but the course leader bloody hated me. Well, I say she hated me. I think she was more annoyed that I didn't fancy her. She was this fit 40-odd-year-old woman. She was really fit, but I've never been able to keep it up for older women. I don't know why. Just always feel like I'm shagging my mum. Not ideal. My trainers were slapping the wet pavements, making drips of mud slip up my legs like tiny little pieces of shit. To say I felt disgusting would be a complete understatement. I got to the building site around 6:15. 15 minutes late on the first day isn't too bad, I suppose. I could blame delays on the tube or something. No one would know any different. I trampled onto the mud and gravel littering the ground at the entrance to the site. Big mesh gates shivering either side of me, while the slap of puddles fought against the patter of the rain. Just to the right of the entrance stood a 6-foot security guard scowling inside his hut, giving me the eye through his half-open window. We exchanged a few words, and he pointed me in the direction of a hut about 20 metres down the site. I opened the door, pushing myself into the shelter of the blue-grey sanctuary. A wave of heat met my wet skin and made me want to vomit. Either that, or those vodka and cokes were repeating on me. I let the bile settle in my stomach, then turned to see a room full of blokes in high vis, scattered around in various states of boredom. "Done?" A bold bloke with shoulders the size of dumbbells was walking over to me with a clipboard. "For my sins." I shook out my jacket and pulled my hood down, letting myself drip all over the dirty laminate floor. "Sorry I'm late." "Don't worry, we're running late anyway. Fucking rain." "Tell me about it." I signalled to the ocean sliding down my clothes. "Grab a cuppa and dry off. I'll come get you when we work out where you'll be." "Thanks, mate." I managed to get myself a hot drink and made my way to huddle over by the radiator at the far side of the room. I knew it would be no hassle me being late. No way anyone's going to get any work done today anyway. Not unless that rain lets up. Not likely. I took off my jacket and hung it over the radiator, leaving me stood there with my soaking wet t-shirt clinging to my chest, my tattoos starting to show through the fabric. It would dry eventually. About 10 minutes later, and the bold bloke came over to me. "You feeling dry? As dry as I'm going to get?" "Listen, don't think it's likely we're going to have any work for you today." I bristled for a moment, then came back with, "You what?" "Sorry, mate. Not the day for it. Rain makes it unsafe." "You still going to pay me?" He paused a moment and looked over his shoulder with a twitch. "Sorry, mate." "Fucking ridiculous," I spat. "I could have had a day's work elsewhere. I lose a day's money because your lot can't handle the rain." "All right, mate. Calm down." I grabbed my jacket and slid it onto me, feeling the damp scrape across my arms. "Oh yeah, calm down. I'll do that, mate, yeah. Just cosy up in my penthouse with some champagne and calm down, I will." I made my way out through the door and back in the torrential rain still hammering onto the brown-grey of the ground. Couldn't fucking believe it. Ben always managed to set me up with these bullshit gigs. What type of dickheads don't pay after dragging me all the way down here at the crack of dawn? I had no idea what to do with myself when I got out of the building site and back onto the pavement. Managed to huddle myself under a red awning from the nearby off-licence, the smell of day-old fruit and veg mingling with the rain. My life was really going well. Part 2. I lay in bed feeling sorry for myself. After finally making it home soaking wet, I managed to fall into bed and hadn't moved for most of the day. I could still smell the damp smell of rainwater rotting in the corner of my room. I grasped at the bedside table where my phone was balancing on the edge, white wire dangling down to the plug socket extension. I grabbed my phone and scrolled through the socials. As always, there was bollock all of any interest. I flicked over to my mobile banking app, checking the damage of another day without any money coming in and plenty of money going out. The rain outside was still pouring down, scraping itself against the windows of the tower block, making me feel like I was in a siege, held hostage by Mother Nature. 57p. That's all I had left in the world. A rich man would be jealous of my wealth. I switched over to WhatsApp and pulled up my conversation with Ben. I began to type. Job today was a complete washout, mate. I'm utterly fucked. I didn't really expect him to do anything about it. I was beyond angry and had landed it completely fucking fucked off. A few minutes later, I got a text back. Sorry, mate. Great. That makes it all better. I managed to haul myself out of bed and padded out to the kitchen. I hated the patting sound my feet always made on the laminate. I grabbed myself a cuppa and stood by the window staring out into the London skyline. Well, I say skyline. All I could really see were the blocks of flats opposite mine, sleek metal running down every edge. I should have been building one of those today. Instead, I was stood there, gulping at someone else's work. Surely there had to be something more to life than all this. I felt like a complete failure. I remember leaving school feeling like life was going to be different for me. I wasn't going to be a complete waster like my dad. Here I was. But I guess at least I was trying. Maybe I should go back to college and do that catering course. At least being a chef I won't get rained off. Laying on the table was a spliff from the night before. I was tempted to relax and take a drag, but that would be me fucked for the day. Did I want to be fucked for the day? Probably yes, but I was clawing onto the last thread of hope that I wasn't a complete loser. Spending money I didn't have, getting stoned instead of actually doing something in the world. Not that the world cared. I stood there for a good half an hour rifling through my brain and resisting the urge to self-induce a cannabis coma. I peered down into the street with diffused vision, not really looking at anything, when a yellow car came into my vision. I whispered, "Yellow car," to myself, and imagined punching someone stood next to me. But there was no one to punch. Then I realised. The rain had stopped. Blue was tearing its way through the clouds. For an instant, everything felt lighter. Fuck it, I thought. I'm going to actually do something.